Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you guys are. Guys, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button on this video, share the video as always, guys. Guys, you know what? Demetrius Andrade, I find him very hilarious these days and very funny because a lot of the things that he says, nowadays is filled with what I would say hypocrisy, really. He says a lot of things that, he can be accused for himself and which other people have said about him, which he's criticized massively. Now, he has mentioned, Andrade, that I don't want to waste my time with Janibek because Janibek is a nobody and Janibek is somebody that can't even carry my bags, which I find hilarious and funny that, a lot of his fans will come onto my channel and then say, well, Imran, Canelo's ducking Andrade, this, that, and the other. And I always find this very, very funny because now Andrade has said the exact same thing for Janibek. Now, this man is saying that a lot of his fans, oh, Imran, but Andrade is a two-division world champion, undefeated world champion, and this, that, and the other, and Canelo's avoiding him, this, that, the other. Well, Janibek's a world champion as well. If I'm not mistaken, he's undefeated as well. But yeah, you could say that he wasn't a world champion. He became a world champion because Andrade decided to give up the belt. But he's criticizing Janibek. He's criticizing Janibek for the exact same reason Canelo says about him. Oh, well, he's fought nobody. Canelo says that about Andrade. He's fought nobody, but his fans criticize Canelo for that. But yet they'll defend him for not fighting Janibek. Janibek, right, is a very good fighter. He's not a great fighter by any stretch, but he's unproven. A bit like Andrade. The only difference is that Janibek's not been around for 10 years or 10 plus years and still not got a meaningful win. I mean, yeah, he might not have a meaningful win, but he's not been around for 10 years. He's just come around recently. Only recently people got to know who Janibek was. But he's a very skilled fighter. Likewise, Andrade, just like Andrade is. But yeah, Andrade, the hypocrisy and the stuff that Andrade comes out with, it's hard not to criticize because this is a guy that criticizes Canelo for not fighting him because he feels he's dangerous, but then he criticizes Janibek, saying Janibek's a nobody. Well, Canelo feels the same way about you, buddy, that you're a nobody. And what does he gain from fighting you? If Canelo fights you, it's because he wants to fight you. He doesn't gain anything from beating Andrade. By beating Andrade, you're just another name on Canelo's record. That's it. Andrade isn't going into the Hall of Fame. He's not a top fighter. He's not a top fighter. Just because you're a two-division world champion doesn't mean you're going into the Hall of Fame. Your resume gets you into the Hall of Fame, what you've done in the sport. Like for me, Broner is a four-division world champion. Is he a Hall of Famer? I think Broner's got more of a chance than Andrade because at least Broner's fought some names. He's fought guys like Paulie Malignaggi who's had very successful careers. And his losses have come to top fighters, Maidana, Porter. Broner's lost Manny Pacquiao, Mikey Garcia. He's come against guys that you would say that have probably got a great chance of going in the Hall of Fame. But when it comes to Demetrius Andrade, this is a guy that's criticizing Janibek for exactly the same reason that Canelo criticizes him, is hypocrisy. And this is why I find his comments laughable, that he criticizes Canelo, yet when he was in a position where he criticizes Canelo that when I was champion, Canelo didn't fight me, or when I was his mandatory, he avoided me, blah, 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 blah. But he did the exact same thing with Janibek, saying that Janibek's a nobody. Well, for Canelo, Andrade is a nobody. When you think about what Canelo's done in the game, Andrade is a nobody. He is a nobody. You can't compare the two's careers. But Andrade does the same thing with Janibek. Janibek, that was a great opportunity for Andrade to put a solid name on his record. But the problem is that if Canelo beats Andrade, Andrade is just another guy. Andrade isn't anything special. As much as you guys are delusional and some of you guys think that Andrade is something he's not, He's not. If Canelo beats Andrade, he's just another name on Canelo's record. That's it. He's not a Hall of Famer, like I said. He's not a great fighter by any stretch of the imagination. He's a good fighter that's very unproven at this point, just like Janibek. The only difference is that, like I keep saying, Andre's been around for God knows how long. And Janibek hasn't been around for that long. So the point I'm trying to make is not a dig at what's his name? Andre. This is the truth. You can't criticize somebody for the exact same thing that someone's criticized you of, but then you're being hypercritical about it. And this is what I mean. Everybody, and this is what I say about life and boxing, everybody looks at it from themselves. So Andre looks at it from himself. He looks at the fact that Canelo's avoiding me, ducking me, dodging me. But when it came to his time to prove to fight a real one, a guy that was in his same position to him, where he needed that leg up, he needed a name, Andre did the exact same thing. So at the end of the day, Canelo does what's best for him. Andre does what's best for him. Right? If Canelo doesn't feel that him fighting Andrade is the best for him and it doesn't match with what he wants to do, then Canelo's going to do what he's going to do. Canelo's in a much better position than Andrade. Canelo can do what he wants, and Canelo is still fighting guys like Bivol. Right? And even when Canelo fights a weaker fighter like John Ryder is probably better than anybody that Andrade has fought in his whole career. John Ryder would beat anybody that Andrade has beaten. Tell me one name that John Ryder wouldn't beat that Andrade has beaten. He'd beat Liam Williams. He'd beat the crap out of Liam Williams. I mean, this is what I'm trying to say. So, I mean, and Liam Williams is probably one of his best wins. This is the point I'm trying to make to you people, that the hypocrisy from that man is kind of crazy. You know, Janibek can't hold your bags, but you can't hold Canelo's bags. You can't. That's the fact. You can't hold his bags. But yet, Janibek can't hold your bags, and this is the hypocrisy I find in Andrade, and that's what makes him dislikable, really, because of the excuses and the rubbish that he comes out with. Even though, like I said many times before, I actually think Andrade's a very good fighter. I actually picked Andrade to beat Billy Joe, and I picked him. I think he would have. I think he causes Canelo trouble. I don't think he beats Canelo. I think Canelo would flatten him somewhere along the line. He's going to get nailed. He get knocked out, in my opinion. But that aside, I do think he would have caused Canelo issues. I do think he's a top fighter. I think Andrade can fight. But the problem is for me, and I look at this as a neutral. Forget the fact that I'm a Canelo fan, whatever. I look at it as a neutral. I look at Andrade as a person. He just comes across someone that really infuriates people, in the sense some of the stuff that he comes out with. And the fact that some of you try to defend what he says is almost even more laughable and more frustrating at times. Because some of the stuff that he says is not defendable. Him criticizing Janibek, saying that Janibek can't hold his bags and stuff, like, that's just ridiculous, and it's laughable. It's disrespectful. Firstly, when you're not a guy that's you're not a guy that's achieved something that's not like you're some kind of incredible fighter that's got an unbelievable resume where you're going into the Hall of Fame. If Andrade finishes his career today, honestly, he doesn't go into the Hall of Fame. Not even close. Not even close. So the point I'm trying to make is, this is a guy that has a very high opinion of himself. But, I mean, what's he really in a 10 over decade of a career? I mean, I don't think he's done anything outstanding by any stretch. So I don't know why he has such a high inflated opinion of himself. And this is what I find really confusing. And some of you defend some of the stuff that he comes out with. Some of the nonsense, really. Nonsense. That's nonsense. Saying that, Janibek can't even hold his bags. Like, obviously, you've been around for like 15 years, probably around for 12 years. Janibek's just recently come, had a handful of fights. You can't say, even then, his resume is not that far away from yours. And Janibek would beat everybody you beat anyway. So it's not like it's like, if fair enough, you say, this guy's resume is so good and he would beat most of the guys that you beat. But Janibek would beat most of the guys that you've beaten. Maybe even do it in better fashion. So it's confusing to some of the stuff that Andrade comes out with, to be honest with you. You can't... If you defend Andrade, then you have no leg to stand on. If you defend Andrade when it comes to Janibek, then you have no leg to stand on when it comes to Canelo. Because Canelo is... The gulf between Canelo and Andrade is a lot more than the gulf between Andrade and Janibek, in terms of what they've achieved in the game. That's fact. The gulf between Canelo and Andrade is far greater than the gulf between Andrade and Janibek. That's the difference between them two. You might not like to hear that, but it's the truth. So when Andrade comes out with these comments, I almost find him funny. Because he's making himself, like, it's the hypocrisy in what he's saying. But anyway, leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know your opinion. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.